Hold on.
Mm.
I'm trying to turn. Let me turn this TV off.
Oh,
Okay, I'm
well.
here.
All right, Jamal, obviously don't put that first part in there. And three, two. So, guys, I'm really excited about my guest that I'm having right now. If you follow me for any period of time, you know that I'm really family oriented. And a lot of you have heard me talk about my sister, Kelly. Kelly is my second youngest sister, and she's really the first BB. So if you ever watch BB's videos or whatever, Kelly is like the prototype for BB. She's probably one of the bravest, strongest, most resilient people I know. Um, if you've heard me talk about, Kelly is battling stage 4 breast cancer, and aside from the fact that I've wanted her to be on the show for a really long time, um, before Superluscious, I wanted her to be on Good and Terrible. I figured a great time would be this month, since October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So with no further ado, this is my sister Kelly Welly. Say hey, Kelly.
Hi.
So first of all, I can't even get started. Like this girl says the simplest things, and I bust out laughing because she's a clown. So if it sounds like some foolishness, I'm just gonna apologize in advance because Kelly has problems and she's a troll. See this evil ass witch laugh. Like, what are you doing? Hey, girl.
Hey, girl.
So, what most people on the internet, they're worried about your babies since I blast their pictures all over. So, how are the girls?
They are fine. Daisy's doing good in school, and Skylar is getting fat. So there's that.
Well,
Because she
that's
eats everything in sight, literally.
hmm, that sounds familiar.
Don't know where she got it from. Just don't.
So, a little backstory about Kelly. My mom was really sick when Kelly was born, and I was 6 and bossy, and so I kind of took over as the little surrogate mom junior, and Kelly was a pain in the butt all the time, and decided that if you had something, including food or whatever, it belonged to Kelly. So now she is getting it twofold through her children, and I think that is just fantastic. So, Cal, let's talk a little bit about. Um, I guess we could go back to last year when
Okay.
you were uh, when you realized that something was wrong and your diagnosis. So, I guess we could start there. What was your first indicator that something wasn't right?
Well, it was a couple of months after I had Skylar, and my stomach went down initially. It went down pretty fast to say I had a C-section. It went down initially, and then after a few months, it started getting big again. So I just kept putting it off, kept putting it off, kept putting it off until my feet and ankles started swelling. And my feet and ankles didn't even swell like that when I was pregnant. So I thought something was wrong, but still kept putting it off. So finally, my insurance was expiring at the end of June. So I was like, well, let me just go because on this particular day, my ankles was bothering me. So I said, well, let me just go and see what's going on with my ankles because this isn't normal for me. So I went into a urgent care clinic and I went in at maybe 11 o'clock and I did not leave the place until 2 because they had never seen anything like that. They were like, are you sure you're not pregnant again? And even if I was, there's no way I could have been that big because I looked as if I was about to give birth again. So um, they sent me to have a CAT scan that same afternoon. And they sent him, the doctor that I saw at the urgent care clinic, he got off. They sent him the results, and he asked me to come in the following morning. He said that it was my liver that was enlarged, and there were some nodules on it that he was worried about. So he wanted me to come in the next morning to have a chest x-ray to make sure everything in my chest looked fine. Did that, and he called me a little bit later and told me that he wanted me to have an oncology consult with my now oncologist. So I went in, told him what was going on. He'd never seen anything like that either. So he scheduled a biopsy for Monday on my liver. Um, After the biopsy, the nurses were saying, "Oh, he's not gonna call you till the end of the week. It's gonna be good news. Don't even worry about it." He called me the next morning and said, "I'm sorry to tell you, it's cancer." So I was like, "Okay." And he was more apologetic, like he injected the cancer into me himself. So I was like, "Okay, it's cool. I'm gonna live. I'm not worried about it." So he just didn't, at that point, he didn't know what kind of cancer it was, where it came from. So it was weeks, which felt like longer than weeks.
I remember because I was at
I
you
know,
every
'cause
day.
yes. So that was like the 22nd or so of June. Um, the 1st of July, I had a full PET scan. So he could see, because after a while they saw that it had estrogen in the biopsy from my liver. So they wanted to have a PET scan to see where it was, because you could, whatever it wasn't seen in the initial CAT scan. So needed the PET scan to just scan my whole body how they needed to see it. And that's when they found it was a mass. It wasn't to the bone, but it was almost to the bone. So that was on the 1st. I got my port placement on the 13th or something of July,
Hey,
and I had,
Cal, let me interrupt you for 1 second because given that you had, just had Sky, you done like the manual breast exam, correct?
yes, I
So
had done the manual breast
and
exam.
so had your
He even,
doctor.
yes, when I went in to see the oncologist on my first visit, he even did a manual breast exam just to see if he could feel anything, and you couldn't feel it because it was in my right breast, but you couldn't feel it. It was that deep. So, and to this day, I'm more than sure now that particular one is gone,
Mm-hmm,
because it hasn't grown
mm-hmm,
in the right breast. So, um, I have my first, what is that? My first chemo treatment. And that was fine. I was like, "Oh, okay, I can do this. Yeah, I got this." Bucked up. Didn't think nothing of it. That Tuesday, I felt like I was in labor from pain. And that just meant that the chemo was doing its job and attacking the cancer cells.
mm-hmm,
But that wasn't the case for me. I thought I was going to die. So I went in and they put me on the morphine pick thing, I think it's called, where you
mm-hmm.
just press the button. Okay, yeah. So they do that, and I'm in the hospital at that point for like 4 days. So I was like, okay, not gonna have any more problems. Not too much after that, I get, I guess, chemical burns from the chemo. Was not fun at all. This particular time, it was just on like my outer hands and the inner part of my feet. So when I walked, it was excruciating pain, and I just thought I was gonna die yet again just from that pain. So Deja's, this is her first year of school, so I totally missed the first day of school. The night before the first day of school, I mistakenly took too much morphine. Not a good idea. I was dog sick. I mean, throwing up all night, throwing up all morning. I barely could lift my head up to see her off to her first day of school. Couldn't even go to the school because my immune system was down. So that like really that took a lot from me. Last year was one of the worst year outside of having Skylar, which was one of the best things. It was also the worst year. So some weeks go by in school. If she was in school, maybe 2 weeks, and our parents were in town. So we go in, and in between this time, I've been bleeding like from my rectum ridiculously. And I went to the emergency room one night, but it only happens when I use the bathroom. It only happened when I use the bathroom. It didn't just happen just because I was standing up or sitting down. It only happened when I used the bathroom. So they were like, oh, well, just do this because we can't really do anything, can't do surgery. Excuse me, can't do surgery. But we did know that it was an internal hemorrhoid because I forgot that back in July, the day after I had the PET scan, I went to the ER with bleeding. So they did a colonoscopy just to see if it was maybe like a colon cancer or something. They're like, no, that's not what it is. So jump back to September. I go in and my doctor was like, "Oh, you're not getting chemo today. Mm-mm, mm-mm. You going to the hospital." So I go to
So
the
how
hospital.
many you had what, like 5 admissions last year?
Two.
Yeah, it was only 2 admissions?
There was only two admissions, just a couple of emergency room visits.
Okay, okay.
It was a couple of emergency room visits. I went in with a fever one time because they were saying that if it got above like 104 to go in.
Mm-hmm.
Went in and it was crazy because it was like a chilled fever. Usually when I've had a fever, I'm hot,
Mm-hmm.
but I was freezing with
Mm-hmm.
this fever. So they would not let me get under a cover because they said that the cover just basically is basically like putting something that you want to cool down in an oven.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in the ER, they just gave me a sheet, so I'm shivering, and they gave me some Tylenol to basically um, get rid of the fever. So they sent me on my way. The last time, the two admissions were direct admits, so I didn't have to go to the through the emergency room like they were expecting
So
me.
you were went basically from the doctor's office into.
The second time, the
Okay.
second admit. The first admit, I called my doctor and he was like, "Well, do you want to come in first?" And I was like, "No, this isn't something that can be handled in the office." So he was like, "Okay, well, I'm calling. I'm putting in the orders. Just go to the something admit," and they put me in. Which I must say that the nurses at that particular hospital had to be some of the best nurses that I've ever had
Now you
come
were
in
at
contact with.
so you were getting your treatment
Methodist.
Methodist in San Antonio, right?
Yes. Yes.
So okay, and I want to remind people that all of this is happening. Like we've got my niece, my her oldest daughter was in kindergarten, and Skylar is at this point what, not even 6 months old.
Nope.
She was
She might have just turned 6 months. The second admit.
she was what, 3 months when you were diagnosed?
Let me see. No, she was because I was diagnosed in June.
Okay, so that's like
She was
four.
about 4 or 5.
Okay,
4, yeah. 4. 4. When I got
so
the, you know, when I found out I had cancer.
hmm
She was like 4 and a half when I found out it was breast cancer.
okay,
Um, I think 5 months when I started the actual
gotcha.
chemo treatments. So I pretty much missed her first year of life.
hmm
Like I didn't have, even though Deja's first year of life, I worked, but it wasn't like this. I missed stuff. I wasn't there. I was there, but not mentally there. I slept. So I just missed a lot,
hmm
making up
Okay.
for
Look,
it.
that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. What were the things, because the treatment is hard, and having witnessed, with Tyson having chemo, that was very difficult, to go through. But Tyson's recovery, I mean, you have two very different circumstances, and Tyson's recovery was rapid and his improvement was basically consistent. Whereas what you have comes with a lot of ups and downs. I think that's a
Yes.
fair way to put it, right?
Yes. Yes, yes.
So, what do you do? Some of y'all follow Kelly on Instagram, and y'all see she always has a joke to crack. She always, and that's just her. And even last year when we would talk, this goofy ass would be going on morphine, and I'm trying to hang up, and she'd be like, "But bitch, wait, I got one more." Like, still has a joke to crack. Like, and how? Like, what were the things that happened that kept you positive? I'm sure like two of them are your girls.
Two of them are my girls. The fact that like people came out the woodwork rooting for me, like people I ain't talked to in years, was just like, I'm praying for you, I'm here for you. If you want to call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can. Even though I didn't, cause even though I share a lot, I'm still pretty private with
Mhm.
certain things. And so it was just the fact that I knew that people were rooting for me, that I just didn't, it's not that we didn't get along and we ain't like each other. We just didn't have that connection. We hadn't been talking, but just the fact that, the people that you least expect to be there, they
Mhm.
were
Mhm.
there. I learned a lot through that experience. Um, because everybody that you expect to be there may not always be there at the same time.
True.
So it's just through this whole experience, it's put a lot of things into perspective, which is very cliche, but it's the truth. You
Mhm.
see, you see who's really there. You see who um just sends you little knickknacks, and they're like, oh, it's not much, but this is all I could do. Okay, but you did more than some other people that could do more.
Mhm.
You did more than they did. So like that was my main thing. A girl that I went to school with, we hadn't really it's we just not fell out, but we were never really close in school.
Mhm.
We would hang out around each other and stuff. And so one day she was like, well, I'm DJing for Mac, because she's a DJ. I'm DJing for Mac and I want to send you some stuff, but it's a petty gift. Okay, but that's a good petty gift. I got makeup and brushes, just things like that. Somebody just sent me socks. I had a blanket. It was just the different things, that the knickknacks that let you know you are loved, even if you're feeling at your lowest, because cancer will take everything from you.
Mhm.
It will have you feeling like you really don't deserve to be here sometimes.
Mhm.
And so just to know that people are really rooting for you, and especially like my big girl, um, she hated for me to be in the hospital.
Mhm.
And it was her first year of school, her first year being around kids a lot. So she stayed sick. Both of the kids stayed sick, which is why I couldn't really be around them last year. And once I started feeling better, um, hold on. Once I started feeling better, like things started to change, and it was a lot. But going back to last year, so after that hospital stint, I think that was my longest stint. I call it a bid because I was in there for 9 days, 9 or 10 days.
Mhm.
Um, I got out. My blood started building back up on its own, and I started my treatments maybe 2 or 3 weeks, because it took
Okay.
about 2 or 3 weeks for it to get back to like a stable um place.
So when did you so at that point in time you were getting chemo what, like every 3 weeks?
Every 3 weeks, yes.
And this year, was it this year or last year that it spaced out to like every few months?
This year.
Okay.
So I it was coming up on the time for me to have my last um round that we agreed, that my doctor said that he wanted to put me on.
Mhm.
So he was like, so what do you want to do now? Do you want to continue? Do you want to scale back? And I was like, well, I need some time for my body to heal because
Mhm.
I was not healing at all. I
Mhm.
wasn't healing at the pace that I was giving my body time to recover and recoup.
Mhm.
So um, that was December 11th. And at that point, we were moving into a new home. We had just purchased a home. So we were moving and just all of that stuff. It was a very hectic time. Um, so after a while, we were into January and I am breathless, literally. I would walk from my bed to the bathroom. I couldn't get back into my bed because it's a pretty high bed. I couldn't get back into my bed. I couldn't
And
walk
you
from my
short.
sofa.
We She's
Huh?
a wee person. Kelly is a pocket person. She's 4'11". I just wanna.
But it is a high bed. So, so I let me see if this gonna help because it sounds a little low on my end. Do I sound
You're
regular?
fine. No, you're fine.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can hear you better with these headphones. Hold
Oh,
on.
you can't hear me?
No, I can't hear you all that well.
Oh, sorry, girl.
Hello, say something.
Hey.
It still sound low, but it's better. Um, so I think I called you and I was like, I can't breathe. And so you was like, oh, if you don't call your doctor, because that's how you talk to me. And so
Well, okay, so you guys know me very well, and I'm all about self care, especially when it comes down to Black women, especially when it comes down to Black mothers, because we have this habit of, I'll check it later, I'll do this later, I'll do that later. And I'm saying that as somebody who actually is dealing with something as a result of that currently. Um, but when it's cancer, it's a little different. And for it's I'm really nervous. I get really nervous, and Kelly is like my first kid in a way. So for her to be sick is a lot. For Kelly, because Kelly's such an upbeat person. So like to hear her down, and it was killing me. And so when it seemed like things were not progressing in a positive direction, I'm like, okay, well, I think you should call your doctor. I think you should do this. I'm gonna call him. And it's like, okay, so 2 days later, 3 days, hey, you call? Oh yeah, I'm gonna call him. 4 days later, okay, so yeah, I'm a bitch. Get on the phone. Like after a certain point, I'm like, because it's that's typically my default. But in this circumstance, like you can't have a hammer with everything. But like after 5 days, I'm like, okay, call your fucking doctor, or I'm coming down there and I'm putting my foot in your ass. So
pretty much.
I mean, and but that was when you had the fluid buildup, right?
Yeah, it was the fluid. It was not in my lungs. It was in the pleural cavities of my lungs. So it was surrounding my lungs. So my right lung was in a deflated state.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, being normal, having two working lungs, I had one working lung, which made it work overtime. So when I would move around, just the smallest thing would take a lot of energy from me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a pleurocentesis, um, July, January or February of this year. I can't exactly remember when.
Now was the the fluid in your pleural cavity, that was, am I saying that right? Is that what it is?
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
is that was a result of the chemo?
Well, it was a result of. They say that when I looked it up, and my doctor said the same. Sometimes when you have a chest cancer,
Hmm.
that's most likely an
Okay.
effect of it. That can always happen.
Okay.
So since it was breast cancer,
Hmm.
it's always a possibility for that to flare up. So he always, checks my lungs to make sure they're clear bilaterally. Because
Okay.
my right lung was filled up pretty high. The left one filled up, but a little bit, but it's pretty good. It's staying at a normal level. He hasn't said that he heard anything um, like a gurgling noise when he's listening to my back.
So now we're at chemo every few months.
Yes. So, um, I'm doing better. I'm building up. I'm able to do things for myself again. I can taste food. I can
Mhm.
cook. Just different things I'm able to do for myself. I started taking care of Skylar by myself. Just
Mhm.
different things that I may have not been able to do last year. I'm starting to do now. Mind you, once I did start taking care of Skylar myself, she was walking at this point,
Mhm.
so
So you
it
kind
was
of
no
have a
more.
little Tasmanian devil now.
So
So okay, so let me ask you, um I smoke way too much weed. Jamal, cut this part out. I lost it that quick. Um ah okay. So let me all right. It's 3:34. We started at like what 3:50. Let me see. Hold on. I just have to we started about 3:10. It's about 33 minutes in. I just have to tell him when when he has to edit this out. Okay.
Okay.
Um, all right. Three, two. Okay. So stage four.
Mm-hmm.
That was because and you were diagnosed at stage four because it began in your breast and
And
metastasized to the liver,
metastasized to my
correct?
liver. Mm-hmm.
So that's basically not curable. Like
No,
this is
treatable, not curable.
treatable, not curable. So this is your life.
My life.
And you live in it.
Yeah.
But you be out here living. Like you are doing more than me. You are doing more than me. And so again, what are when you look at your goals, when you look at, you know, the things you want to do in life or whatever, how do you approach that?
I pray about it.
Hmm.
Um, I talk to people, bounce ideas off of people's heads. Um, like there's things I want to do. I want to go back to school, but it's not going to be anything where I go and work for somebody because I can't do that no more.
Hmm.
Like, and it's not that I don't think I would be able to with the cancer. I don't want to.
Hmm.
Standing over me and telling me about a deadline. I want to make my own deadlines. I
Hmm.
want to decide what I am and I am not going to do. Um, I don't want to be miserable going to a job and miserable because I have something that I can't get rid of.
Right.
So, like with that, I'm bouncing back and forth about what I want to do with the rest of my life.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just like I pray about it and I think about it. Um, but I'm also a procrastinator
Oh, I
because
didn't know
I'll say I'm gonna do something and never do it. Like I just realized that I could bake a little bit.
that. Hmm.
I can't decorate nothing, but I could bake a little bit. I can make me a cake from scratch.
So have
I
you
could cook a little bit.
has
Hmm.
having your illness kind of made you more conscious of procrastination?
Yes and no, because like I know there's things I want to do and I know there's things I want to accomplish, but it's like sometimes it's also discouraging because money ain't coming in how it used to.
Right.
And that's like you need money to make money,
Hmm.
period. So it's like you want to do these things, but you can't necessarily do those things because you don't have the funding to do said things. So it's like it makes me want to do it's just I don't know.
Hmm.
It's not it's kind of difficult to explain.
But you
But
still, as far as actually the goals that you want to pursue, do you think you have more of a sense of, I don't want to say urgency because I don't think that's the right word, but do you approach them with more of a sense of purpose?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna walk in my purpose.
Purpose of being a goddamn troll.
That is part of my purpose.
Your purpose is to troll. Your purpose is specifically to troll me.
Not just you. Mm-mm.
You've been trolling me
Everybody.
your entire life.
Yes, but when I troll, it's for everybody.
So, okay, so let's move on. Not to say let's move on, but we're going to talk about the fact that of the people who are listening to this show and all that, you've known me longer than any of them. And we've had quite a few experiences. So some things I share, some things I don't on social media. I think people will hear, like when they say that when you say that you share a lot but you're very private. It's funny because people have definitely heard me say the same thing. I think we're similar in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But I am going to let you pull back the curtain a little bit if you so desire. I'm probably gonna regret this, but whatever. Um, so everybody, we do threesies on here. I do threesies on here, where I give you a topic, three things, and you hit those three things. So your threesies are me. You get to tell people the three most ridiculous things I have done.
Okay. That I could think of. Let me see. So, back in 2001 or two, can't remember.
Bringing up old shit when I was going through a lot, but okay, okay, okay.
So was I. I was crazy. I was 18. So I was crazy. I ain't had no sense. So my homegirl stayed across the street from us and she was like, "Oh girl, you wanna come take this ride with me?" So I was like, "Yeah." And so I tell Mel, because I was living with her, okay, I'm gonna take this ride. Now, mind you, I ain't ask her for no money. I'm kind of grown, not all the way grown, but kind of just a little bit, you know.
I know them
I'm
dishes
considered
wasn't
an
done.
adult.
I know them dishes wasn't done.
So I tell her I'm about to go take this ride. Baby, she said, if you walk out that door, some. And I was like, girl, whatever. So I leave, get in the car. I walk across the street to my friend's house. And so I see Smokey Joe coming out. I was like, say, bro, your sister throwing your stuff out the window.
Wait,
You might want to come back.
Smokey Rico? Are you calling Rico Smokey?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I was having a moment.
So I go. My comforter is outside on the ground. I had just bought some. It was some because I'm old, just in case. Like I'm an old person and I like old people things. So I had these little cute little Nine West slide ins. They were so comfortable.
They
Yeah,
were
they was thrown outside. It was a pretty like cognac color, and they had a slug in them. They had a slug. Um, Needless to say, that was rude.
I
Um,
apologize.
mhm.
Apologize.
The other one, it wasn't so much you. You was pregnant with Jaden.
Oh my goodness.
We was in the
I
mall.
was an awful person. Oh no, you can't tell that story.
Dang.
No, you cannot
This
tell
was
that
a good
story.
one. Oh, that story was good too. Yeah, he might be mad at me for that one. He might not forgive me.
Well, I I'll tell part of the story. So Tyson, when I was pregnant, was going through his terrible twos, and um, I don't know what his motivation was to not do what I said, but he was like growling in the store, acting like a damn demon. And while I am an anti spanking parent today, I was not during the events of 2000. That was 2000. That was
Yeah.
like winter 2000. Yeah.
Winter 2000.
Yeah. And we were in the white people's
Lake.
mall,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they don't play that. And Kelly was terrified because she was like, "You gonna go to jail. We gotta get in the car. You gonna go to jail, and I can't drive this motherfucker home."
Whew.
Oh,
It was scary. I was
oh my
scared for that
goodness.
poor baby, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Oh my
But I
goodness.
wasn't gonna go into that much detail because that's pretty much what I was gonna say about that one.
Okay,
That
what's number three,
was
Heifer?
number three. So, what is number three?
Nothing, because I was like the perfect sister. Otherwise, I had two very terrible days, and then every other day I was like perfect, obviously. Gosh.
Mm, I can't think of like another time outside of you cursing me out because I wasn't gonna leave for Katrina. I mean,
Well,
well, see, like the thing, I guess the thing that like with that, the year before we was on the road for 14 doggone hours,
right.
and I called home. People was like, "Oh yeah, the sun is shining." I was on the road for 14 hours and the sun is shining.
Yeah. So the funny thing about that was it was kind of a pay it forward thing because originally I wasn't going to leave either. And my daddy called me and he was like, you need to get the step. And I was like, dog, I ain't got nothing but like $3 on my debit card. It's not going to happen. I've got two stories. I'm just going to holler at you when you get back. I would have been dead. Your goofy ass would have been dead.
No, cause see, even so, because where I was living that morning, that Sunday morning, her brother came and
Oh,
was
they
like,
left
"No,
too.
y'all getting out."
Yeah.
So yeah, whether
But
I
yeah,
was
so
leaving,
but the
then the
thing
lady was
was, the
leaving.
thing was, you a damn fool if you think that we all gonna leave New Orleans and we gonna leave you to evacuate with some strangers. I don't care if you're friends; they strangers to us. You was coming with us, ho.
Well, yeah, but I didn't
That
think that it was that important
that.
until Sean kept calling me, and I was just like, "Shit, let me go so she could stop calling me." Like legit, that was my thought because are you sure? Because you know Sean be worried about. Are you sure?
She's so
I
worried.
think I
She's
think
so
you should just
concerned.
I think you should just come. And because by that point you was just like, well, fuck it, I ain't go. Don't. If you ain't coming, don't come. I don't care. That's where you was at.
I'm
And so Sean,
I'm
but
so loving and
but
gentle. I don't know
Kelly,
if that's what I said.
but girl, bye. Um, but Kelly, you just don't know. I think you should just go ahead on and come.
Are you sure that wasn't me who called you and said that? Because that sounds like me and my gentle temperament.
In what life?
Okay, well, there we go.
I'm here to like keep it real because that's what I do.
So, Cal, um, so here we are, October 2016. What what do you say to, like, we're what, a year and some change after your initial diagnosis? What do you say to other cancer survivors, whether they are newly diagnosed? Well, I'll start with this. What do you say to people who are newly diagnosed? What would be your word
Fight.
to them?
Don't give up because it's easy. It's so easy to just lay in the bed and be like, man, this, especially if it's stage four. Stage one, you can knock that out the park real quick because you can cure that.
Hmm.
Stage two, still a high chance of curing. 3, it drops a little bit, but when you're stage 4, you have a 22% survival rate. So stage 4, and I'd say the same thing for all of them, but especially stage 4, fight. Don't let it take over you because it can. I've had some dark days where I'm just like, okay, just let me die because I don't want to live this life. This ain't what I signed up for. Like, you could have just let me die when I was a baby and I wouldn't have to go through this. But on the flip side, I have 2 children I have to think about. And I know what it's like to lose a mother at a young age.
Well, that's the other thing
And
I wanted to ask you, Cal, because when I think about the time frame that they was, you know, she was when you were in the hospital, she was close in age to where mama was in the hospital, when she originally first started getting ill. Um, was that part of, like, how did that impact you? Did
at that point, to be honest, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Mhm,
Like, I was just thinking, I just want to live.
mhm,
I want to be here for my children. I didn't think about it too much of how it impacted Deja because, to be honest, had I thought about that at that time, I probably would have cried every day.
mhm,
Skylar, it wouldn't have affected too much because she didn't really know me.
mhm.
So, not saying what she did know of me, she didn't love,
Right.
but it wasn't the same thing as Deja. Like, I can remember my mama.
Mhm,
I can remember looking at my mama. I can remember combing my mama's, like different things like that. Deja's going to remember. So
mhm.
just that alone, like, my mindset was I have to fight for my girls because it's no longer just about me. Um, Fortunately, with even though we didn't have the easiest time with our stepmom, these hood rats today, y'all would
Kelly.
kill her because it's like to the women of today as opposed to the women when we were kids, like for our parents and aunts and uncles, they have changed so much. Like, I can't see a woman coming in and taking care of my kids the way I would.
I
So
think
just
I think that's like a concern for. I feel like
anyone.
there are good step parents and bad step parents, whether it's then or now or whatever. I think though that's a concern that a mom is gonna have regardless.
Regardless.
Um,
Hmm.
Nobody takes care of you like your mama. Nobody takes care of you like your mama. That's one of the reasons, when Ty was sick, I had to spread myself thin, not only to make sure that I was there for them, but since I wasn't able to physically be there for BB, I didn't feel comfortable sending her to her other parent. Um, in that household, and it was still difficult, like traveling back and forth, but I sent her to a place where I knew that she was
She was
going to
going to be
get
cared for.
the
Right.
extra care that she needed in those circumstances, and still be able to get to her, if need be. And I think it's a really valid, like, it's going to be a valid concern if Mary Poppins is your child's stepmother. That's still your baby. Like, no
It's
matter.
still my baby, but I would feel much better if it was Mary Poppins
Kelly,
that
you
was my
cannot
baby
be calling
stepmama.
people hood rats, Kelly. I wish this really should have been a live show because Kelly's facial expressions are absolutely ridiculous. But
Like,
when you I can say for me, observing, because there's but so much that I can do, even if I was right there. which you keep trying to get me to move to Texas. And God knows why you would live in such a godforsaken place. I just do not understand it.
That sounds
But,
stupid, but you know,
but,
you live and learn.
um, but at the end of the day, I can be supportive, but this is still your fight. I'm an observer. What I can say that I have observed is, when you told me that you were diagnosed, um, I was scared, obviously, and I was worried because I tried to shield you guys from a whole lot, and I'm about to cry. Um, and so, being a big sister and whatever, trying to, kind of spend my life to protect you guys from, whatever. There's this thing that I cannot protect you from, and I cannot do for you, and I can't carry for you, and I just kind of have to watch and see how you carry it, and you carry it better than I ever could. I don't know if I could fight like that. I just don't, and I am a bad, tough motherfucker, and I still don't know if I could do it.
Part
And
of it is because I'm petty as hell.
I hate the fact that you insist that you are living out of spite.
I look, baby, I keeps it real. It's because I'm petty.
And cancer can kiss your ass.
It will wanna.
Like that was like basically the from day one. Kelly's tech was, yeah, but this shit could kiss my ass. I don't even know what to like, how you even respond to that. How do you respond to a person like in the bed, like fuck this? So it's I'm proud of you. You are one of my biggest heroes, not only because you're dealing with this and you're living and you're surviving and thriving, but the fact that you never lost your sense of humor. You never, I know it comes with bad days. And there have been times where we've had some rough conversations, but you still hang in there. And
Hmm.
I think you hang in there in the situation where people would not fault you if you didn't. Um, Cancer is a tough road. And so I'm proud of you and I love you, even though you're a stinky troll.
And I love you too with all my trollness.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Because if I wasn't a troll, it wouldn't be me.
It would not at all be you.
I think if I stopped being a troll, people would be scared.
I would. I would. And I would have to find out who I needed to
Who I
kill.
killed?
Yeah,
No, you would probably need to find out who I killed.
that's true. That is very true. And that's a whole other show. But you know what? I'm glad you were on this one. It means a lot
Me
to
too.
me. Like I like the fact like people listen and it's cool and it's dope, but it's always great when your people come on with you. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm happy that you agreed. Um and don't stop fighting. You have a lot of people in your corner and I'm one of them.
I know.
All right. Thank you, Kelly Welly.
You're welcome, Melly Mel.